Section 44 of the Fables of Pilpay. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Mary in Arkansas. The Fables of Pilpay by Anonymous. Translated by Abdullah Ibn al-Muqaffa and Joseph Harris. Chapter 4, Fable 3. The Man and the Adder. A man mounted upon a camel once rode into a thicket, and went to rest himself in that part of it from whence the caravan was just departed, and where the people having left a fire, some sparks of it, being driven by the wind, had set a bush wherein lay an adder all in a flame. The fire environed the adder in such a manner that he knew not how to escape, and was just giving himself over to destruction, when he perceived the man already mentioned, and with 1,000 mournful conjurations begged of him to save his life. The man on this, being naturally compassionate, said to himself, "It is true these creatures are enemies to mankind. However, good actions are of great value, even of the very greatest when done to our enemies, and whoever sows the seed of good works shall reap the fruit of blessings." After he had made this reflection, he took a sack, and tying it to the end of his lance, reached it over the flame to the adder, who flung himself into it, and when he was safe in, the traveller pulled back the bag, and gave the adder leave to come forth, telling him he might go about his business, but hoped he would have the gratitude to make him a promise never to do any more harm to man, since a man had done him so great a piece of service. To this the ungrateful adder answered, "You much mistake both yourself and me. Think not that I intend to be gone so calmly. No, my design is first to leave thee a parting blessing, and throw my venom upon thee and thy camel." "Monster of ingratitude," replied the traveller, "desist a moment at least, and tell me whether it be lawful to recompense good with evil." "No," replied the adder, "it certainly is not. But in acting in that manner, I shall do no more than what yourselves do every day. That is to say, retaliate good deeds with wicked actions, and requite benefits with ingratitude." "You cannot prove this slanderous and wicked aspersion," replied the traveller. "Nay, I will venture to say that if you can show me any one other creature in the world that is of your opinion, I will consent to whatever punishment you think fit to inflict on me for the faults of my fellow creatures." "I agree to this willingly," answered the adder, and at the same time spying a cow. "Let us propound our question," said he, "to this creature before us, and we shall see what answer she will make." The man consented, and so both of them accosting the cow, the adder put the question to her, how a good turn was to be requited. "By its contrary," replied the cow, "if you mean according to the custom of men, and this I know by sad experience. I belong," said she, "to a man to whom I have long been several ways extremely beneficial. I have been used to bring him a calf every year, and to supply his house with milk, butter, and cheese. But now I am grown old, and no longer in a condition to serve him as formerly I did. He has put me in this pasture to fat me, with the design to sell me to a butcher, who is to cut my throat, and he and his friends are to eat my flesh. And is this not requiting good with evil?" On this the adder, taking upon him to speak, said to the man, "What say you now? Are not your own customs a sufficient warrant for me to treat you as I intend to do?" The traveller, not a little confounded at this ill-timed story, was cunning enough, however, to answer, "This is a particular case only, and give me leave to say, one witness is not sufficient to convict me. Therefore, pray, let me have another." "With all my heart," replied the adder. "Let us address ourselves to this tree that stands there before us." The tree, having heard the subject of their dispute, gave his opinion in the following words: Among men, benefits are never requited, but with ungrateful actions. I protect travelers from the heat of the sun, and yield them fruit to eat, and a delightful liquor to drink. Nevertheless, forgetting the delight and benefit of my shade, they barbarously cut down my branches to make sticks and handles for hatchets, and saw my body to make planks and rafters. Is not this requiting good with evil? The adder, on this, looking upon the traveller, asked if he was satisfied. But he was in such a confusion that he knew not what to answer. However, in hopes to free himself from the danger that threatened him, he said to the adder, "I desire only one favor more. Let us be judged by the next beast we meet. Give me but that satisfaction is all I crave. You know life is sweet. Suffer me, therefore, to beg for the means of continuing it." While they were thus parleying together, a fox passing by was stopped by the adder, who conjured him to put an end to their controversy. The fox, upon this, desiring to know the subject of their dispute, said the traveller, "I have done this adder a signal piece of service, and he would fain persuade me that, for my reward, he ought to do me a mischief." "If he means to act by you, as men do by others, he speaks nothing but what is true," replied the fox. "But that I may be better able to judge between you, let me understand what service it is that you have done him." The traveller was very glad of this opportunity of speaking for himself, and recounted the whole affair to him. He told him after what manner he had rescued him out of the flames with that little sack which he showed him. "How," said the fox, laughing outright, "would you pretend to make me believe that so large an adder as this could get into such a little sack? It is impossible." Both the man and the adder, on this, assured him of the truth of that part of the story, but the fox positively refused to believe it. At length he said, "Words will never convince me of this monstrous improbability, but if the adder will go into it again, to convince me of the truth of what you say, I shall then be able to judge of the rest of this affair." "That I will do most willingly," replied the adder, and at the same time he put himself into the sack. Then said the fox to the traveller, "Now you are the master of your enemy's life, and I believe you need not be long in resolving what treatment such a monster of ingratitude deserves of you." With that the traveller tied up the mouth of the sack, and with a great stone never left off beating it till he had pounded the adder to death, and by that means put an end to his fears and the dispute at once. "This fable," pursued the rat, "informs us that there is no trusting to the fair words of an enemy, for fear of falling into the like misfortunes." "You say very true," replied the raven, "in all this. But what I have to answer to it is, that we ought to understand how to distinguish friends from enemies. And when you have learned that art, you will know I am no terrible or treacherous foe, but a sincere and hearty friend. For I protest to thee, in the most solemn manner, that what I have seen thee do for thy friend the pigeon and his companions has taken such root in me that I cannot live without an acquaintance with thee. And I swear I will not depart from hence till thou hast granted me thy friendship." Zirac, perceiving at length that the raven really dealt frankly and cordially with him, replied, "I am happy to find that you are sincere in all this. Pardon my fears, and now hear me acknowledge that I think it is an honor for me to wear the title of thy friend, and if I have so long withstood thy importunities, it was only to try thee, and to show thee that I want neither wit nor policy, that thou may knowest hereafter how far I may be able to serve thee." And so saying, he came forward, but even now he did not venture fairly out, but stopped at the entrance of his hole. "Why dost thou not come boldly forth?" demanded the raven. "Is it because thou art not yet assured of my affection?" "That is not the reason," answered the rat, "but I am afraid of thy companions upon the trees." "Set thy heart at rest for that," replied the raven. "They shall respect thee as their friend, For it is a custom among us that when one of us enters into a league of friendship with a creature of another species, we all esteem and love that creature." The rat, upon the faith of these words, came out to the raven, who caressed him with extraordinary demonstrations of friendship, swearing to him an inviolable amity, and requesting him to go and live with him near the habitation of a certain neighboring tortoise, of whom he gave a very noble character. "Command me henceforth in all things," replied Zirac, "for I have so great an inclination for you, that from henceforward I will forever follow you as your shadow. And to tell you the truth, this is not the proper place of my residence. I was only compelled some time since to take sanctuary in this hole, by reason of an accident, of which I would give you the relation, if I thought it might not be offensive to you." "My dear friend," replied the raven, "can you have any such fears? Or rather, are you not convinced that I share in all your concerns? But the tortoise," added he, "whose friendship is a very considerable acquisition, which you cannot fail of, will be no less glad to hear the recital of your adventures. Come, therefore, away with me to her," continued he. And at the same time he took the rat in his bill, and carried him to the tortoise's dwelling, to whom he related what he had seen Zirac do. She congratulated the raven for having acquired so perfect a friend, and caressed the rat at a very high rate, who, for his part, was too much a courtier not to testify how sensible he was of all her civilities. After many compliments on all sides, they went all three to walk by the banks of a purling rivulet, and having made choice of a place somewhat distant from the highway, the raven desired Zirac there to relate his adventures, which he did in the following manner. End of section 44.